Welcome back to the Midnight Trench. Tonight, we pull back the heavy curtain of the surface world and descend into a realm of absolute stillness, where the weight of the entire ocean cradles us in a timeless, quiet embrace. Close your eyes. Let go of the tension in your shoulders, your jaw, your mind. Take a deep, slow breath in and let it out. Imagine the sound of distant, rhythmic water droplets. Drip, drip, drip. Tonight, we are traveling back to May 1945. The Second World War in Europe has just come to a sudden, roaring end. Above the waves, the world is chaotic, loud, and shifting. But beneath the surface of the North Sea, a solitary vessel begins a journey of unimaginable endurance. This is the story of the U-977, a German submarine commanded by a young, determined captain named Heinz Schäffer. Rather than surrender his ship and his men to the Allied forces, Schäffer makes a choice that sounds like madness: to dive deep, run silent, and cross the entire Atlantic Ocean to South America without surfacing a single time. For 66 days, this steel cocoon would become a self-contained universe, drifting through the dark, cold depths of the ocean floor. Relax. Let the deep hum of the engines wash over you, and let us descend together into the silent odyssey of the U-977. Part 1. The decision at the edge of the world. It is May 8th, 1945. The waters off the coast of Norway are freezing, grey, and restless. Inside the narrow steel hull of U-977, the crew gathers in the dim light of the control room. The radio has just crackled to life with the final sobering order from the High Command. Lay down your arms, fly a black surrender flag, and hand your vessel over to the Allies. But Captain Heinz Schäffer, only 24 years old, looks at his young crew. He knows what surrender means. Years in a bleak, distant prisoner of war camp, unsure if they will ever see their homes again. He proposes an alternative. A whisper of hope whispered in the shadows of the Atlantic. Argentina. It is a land thousands of miles away, across vast hostile patrols, through freezing currents and tropical depths. Schäffer is a leader who values his men. He gives those with families in Germany a choice. Under the cover of a pitch-black night, U-977 sneaks close to the rocky Norwegian coast. 16 crew members who wish to return home are quietly set ashore in dinghies. With 32 men remaining, the heavy steel hatch of the submarine is swung shut. The iron bolts are turned and locked. The air inside is sealed. With a soft, mechanical hiss, the ballast tanks fill with cold seawater. The submarine tilts slightly forward, sliding away from the light of the sun, down into the deep, protective shadows of the sea. Part 2. The descent into the blue twilight. As U-977 sinks deeper, the green-grey surface water fades into a deep, velvety indigo, and eventually into a pure, breathless black. The transition is immediate. The violent tossing of the surface waves disappears, replaced by an uncanny, dreamlike stability. Inside the submarine, there is no wind, no weather, and no passage of day or night. There is only the steady, hypnotic vibration of the electric motors. Hum, hum. To avoid detection by the dense Allied patrols scouring the surface, Schäffer orders the submarine to remain submerged indefinitely. Their only connection to the atmosphere above is a long metal tube called the snorkel. The snorkel. This tube, barely breaking the surface of the water like a tiny reed, draws in just enough fresh air to keep the diesel engines running and the crew breathing. But the snorkel is a fragile lifeline. If a wave washes over it, a safety valve slams shut instantly to prevent the ocean from flooding the sub. When this happens, the massive diesel engines, still hungry for oxygen, suddenly draw air directly from the inside of the submarine itself. The air pressure inside the cabins plummets in a second. The men's ears pop violently. The air grows thin and cold, and the silence that follows is thick with anticipation. Then, as the valve clears the wave, the air rushes back in with a soft, sweeping sigh. Psh. This becomes the rhythm of their lives, a slow, breathing tide of pressure, air, and silence. Part 3. The Symphony of the Steel Cocoon. Let your mind settle into the interior of the U-977. Space is a luxury they do not have. The walkways are narrow, lined with polished copper pipes, bundles of colourful electrical wires, and heavy steel valves. Every sound in this metallic world is magnified, softened, and smoothed by the surrounding water. In the deep, Captain Schäffer would later write, the ocean becomes our sounding board. Every creak of the hull is a conversation with the abyss. Listen closely to the soundscape of their underwater sanctuary. The sinking drips. Condensation from the cold sea outside clings to the steel ceiling. Every few seconds, a heavy, cool drop falls, landing with a soft, hollow chime against the metal floorboards. Plip, plip, plip. The gentle groan. As the submarine drifts slightly deeper, the immense pressure of the Atlantic presses against the cylindrical hull. The steel adjusts, letting out a deep, resonant, and comforting groan, like an old wooden house settling in the wind. The rhythmic hum, the low, rhythmic vibration of the electric batteries pulsing power to the propeller shafts. It is a warm, continuous drone that vibrates through the metal bunks, acting as a physical lullaby for the sleeping crew. Because they must remain completely silent to avoid sonar detection, the men speak only in hushed, calm whispers. They wear soft, rubber-soled shoes to dampen their footsteps. They move slowly, deliberately, as if navigating a grand silent cathedral. Part 4. The timelessness of the midnight zone. Weeks begin to blur together. By late May, the crew has lost all physical sense of time. Without the sun, they rely entirely on the mechanical clocks on the bulkheads. To maintain their sanity, Captain Schäffer enforces a strict, unyielding routine. The crew is divided into shifts. While one half watches the instruments under the dim, crimson glow of the night lights, the other half sleeps. Sleeping in a submerged U-boat is a unique experience of sensory deprivation. The bunks are narrow, tucked between torpedo tubes and food crates. The air is cool, slightly damp, and carries the faint, comforting scent of machine oil, diesel, and stored lemons. Because oxygen is precious, the men are ordered to lie as still as possible when they are off duty. They read by the soft light of small, low-wattage bulbs. They play quiet games of chess, moving the wooden pieces with delicate care. Many of them simply lie in their bunks, listening to the eternal silence of the ocean. In this state of profound quiet, the mind begins to wander. The low oxygen levels induce a state of gentle, waking dreams. They dream of green forests in Germany, of warm summer afternoons, and of the steady, comforting feel of solid earth. The submarine is no longer a weapon of war. It has transformed into a peaceful, floating capsule carrying 32 dreaming souls through the dark heart of the ocean. Part 5. Crossing the Equator. By June, U-977 has bypassed the dangerous waters of the English Channel and the North Atlantic. They are now traveling southward, parallel to the coast of Africa, deep in the mid-Atlantic. The water outside begins to warm. The chill that had clung to the steel hull for weeks slowly dissipates, replaced by a mild, humid warmth. The condensation stops dripping. Inside, the air becomes thick and heavy, like a warm summer evening before a rainstorm. The men shed their heavy wool sweaters and lie in their bunks in simple, light clothing. To conserve their energy and the sub's battery power, they move even slower. At these depths, they are completely isolated from the rest of humanity. The war is over. The cities of Europe are beginning to turn their lights back on. But here, hundreds of feet below the surface, time has stood still. They are travelers in an alien landscape, drifting past underwater mountain ranges and deep, silent valleys where no light has ever penetrated. Sometimes, the hydrophone operator, the man who listens to the sounds of the ocean through sensitive underwater microphones, will smile and hand his headphones to a crewmate. Through the static of the sea, they do not hear the propellers of hunting destroyers. Instead, they hear the beautiful, haunting songs of migrating whales. The deep, clicking patterns and long, sorrowful whistles of the great beasts echo through the water, a natural symphony greeting the silent steel traveler as it passes through their domain. Part 6. The Return of the Light. 66 days. For 66 days, not a single lungful of completely fresh air has entered the cabin without passing through the mechanical lungs of the snorkel. For 66 days, no one has seen the sky, the stars, or a horizon. But in mid-July, after passing the equator and reaching the safer, wider expanses of the South Atlantic, Captain Schäffer decides it is finally safe. The order is given: prepare to surface. The ballast tanks are blown. The compressed air rushes in with a roaring, triumphant hiss. The submarine begins to rise, tilting upward. The depth gauge needle spins backward. 80 meters, 50 meters, 20 meters. Suddenly, with a dramatic splash, the conning tower of U-977 breaks through the surface of the ocean. Captain Schäffer is the first to climb the ladder. He cracks open the heavy steel hatch. Imagine the sensation. The cool, clean, salty night air of the South Atlantic rushes down into the hatch like a physical wave. It is sweet, crisp, and incredibly cold. The men below lift their faces to the open hatch, drinking in the fresh air, their lungs expanding fully for the first time in over 2 months. Schäffer steps out onto the bridge. Above him, the sky is an immense, breathtaking dome of absolute black, dusted with the brilliant, unfamiliar constellations of the southern hemisphere. The Southern Cross shines brightly, guiding them forward. The ocean, once their dark hiding place, is now a calm, silver mirror reflecting the light of a crescent moon. They have survived. They have conquered the deep. On August 17th, 1945, U-977 slowly glides into the warm sunlit harbour of Mar del Plata, Argentina. Their legendary 66-day underwater journey is complete. The ship is quiet now. The engines are finally turned off. The long hum that had served as the heartbeat of their survival fades into a peaceful, final silence. As you prepare to sleep, let your mind drift back to that quiet, submerged world. Feel the absolute safety of being wrapped in layers of cool, dark water, far away from the noise, the responsibilities, and the rush of the modern world. Imagine yourself inside that silent, drifting capsule. The water outside is a soft, protective blanket. The rhythmic drip of the condensation is a gentle clock ticking down to peace. The low, warm hum of the earth carries you further and further away from the shore of wakefulness. The journey is over. The sanctuary of the deep is yours.